This afternoon, the 5th and 6th graders from Meadville take on Moscow in the Friendship Bowl, and this endeavor started back in 1992, and it finally unravels here this afternoon at Robertson Field in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Ray Horner along with Jack Michaels. And Jack, we've been anxiously awaiting this broadcast this afternoon as Meadville takes on Moscow. It's been a feverishly paced week here in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Jack, first of all, before we go to Coach O'Keefe.
Well, we've been looking forward to this event for almost a month now, Ray, and so far today the city of Meadville has been blessed with some outstanding activities, starting with the parade at 9:30, then the Diamond Park ceremony. There was a punt, pass, and kick competition. I was talking with Allegheny Sports Information Director Steve Mest, and he said he was shocked at how many participants used the punt, pass, and kick, and of course Wicked Legs, Crawford County's rock band here today, and now these two football games, the 5th and 6th graders beginning right now, and then the 7th and 8th graders will follow later on this evening at Robertson Field. So it's an outstanding national event that's coming to Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Most certainly, and this event would, quite frankly, not have happened if it wasn't for the man situated between the two of us, Ken O'Keefe. And Ken, let's go back to 1992. You took this an NCAC All-Star unit to Moscow, Russia, and everything from there is snowballed.
Sure has, boy. You know, I can't even think about 1992 anymore. I've got the date on my shirt that I'm wearing today, but as I see the Russian team being introduced, it just is a big thrill for myself, and I'm sure everybody here in the stands as well.
Can we go back 4 years ago? You went over there with the All-Star unit, though. You met Victor Ivanov. He was impressed with you and the coaching staff and the contingent. How did the talks start about making this whole thing happen?
Well, Victor invited us back several occasions to help coach the Moscow Bears, which was the adult league team over there. And I really didn't have much of an interest in that because I wasn't sure there was a future. You know, guys were coming and going all the time. It's difficult to make a living and play semi-pro football in Russia, just like it is in the United States. And, you know, there was no base to build from. And I told Victor, you know, if he was really serious about, you know, helping football to grow, then we should talk a little bit more about developing from the youth level on up. And I said, you know, if he ever decides that's what he wants to do, give me a call and I'd be glad to help. And as I've said before, you know, a little more than 2 years ago, we called in his chips, and here we are, looking to help.
I remember when you were working with Mr. Belitsky and Victor Ivanov, your first trip to Moscow. I remember you told me that, boy, Ray, at some points we had a tough time getting these gentlemen into stances to learn the game of American football. And watching the young 5th and 6th graders out here in the football field here this afternoon, they've obviously worked hard at the game.
They sure have. I mean, this is a great opportunity for the Russian kids to travel to America and to play the great game that you know, that we've been playing for over 100, almost 125 years, I think, in certain parts of the country. And they've come a long way in a matter of a year. We talk about the stances. That's the first thing you got to be able to do as a football player, and they take a lot of pride in developing the fundamentals of the game. But I'll tell you, our little gritters are the same way, and I've seen them you know, day after day in some you know, some pretty darn hot weather, some pretty wet weather, work extremely hard to continue to develop as a team and as a program as well. A lot of dedicated people in this community in that Little Gritters program, the junior high program. The coaches are to be commended for what they've done and how they've helped this, the Russian program grow as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was talking to some people at the press conference on Tuesday, and they were saying that basically the 5th and 6th graders and the 7th and 8th graders from Moscow have been practicing for 2 years straight with American football, getting ready for this trip. Is that true?
That is not true. No, I don't know where you would have heard that, but they didn't even have equipment until they received a shipment, I think, last June 27th or you know, somewhere around that time. Equipment that they had shipped actually in April or May was stuck in some kind of tax problem. Couldn't even get out of the airport for a while. And they really, these kids started playing last year at our camp that we had in Tobolsk, and that's when it all began. They played their fall season, obviously, in 7 different schools throughout Moscow. There were 400 players that shared about 200 sets of equipment, and you know, right now the plan is to, you know, to equip more kids and to bring more kids into the game of football. But really, they've been playing for just a little bit more than a year.
The NFL endorsement of this project has been gigantic. for this special event, donating footballs for all the individuals, the game jerseys, which the red for the Russian youth and the white for the Meadville youth. Instrumental. I know you went to New York City just a few months ago.
We did. We had a great trip to New York. We had great meetings in Moscow as well. Harry Gamble, the NFL, traveled there. We've got Dick Maxwell here today who participated in the meetings back in New York City in May. We're working on a lot of different things to pull this off, all in the hopes that the Children's League of American Football in Russia will develop into a popular game like ice hockey has over the past 25 years.
You and I talked just a few months ago, Ken, about this day in particular, July 4th. You were kind of wondering, would people come out to the event? Would they show up? Would they support the event? And I think we saw it at the parade this morning. We saw it at the ceremonies at the Diamond. And we're seeing it here again today that the community has definitely got behind this whole event.
Oh, I mean, look at this place. This is probably the most excitement we've had here outside of a playoff game, maybe. But what an atmosphere to play in. What what a piece of Americana. It's like a carnival. It's like a concert. It's just everything you can hope for to be part of an event like this. And so many kids, taking part in the punt, pass, and kick, as you said earlier, in the interactive games that we had, just before the introduction. Wow. I mean, it's a shot in the arm for football anywhere, and it's just a lot of fun for me being a football coach to watch.
You spearheaded this whole event, and now you have a lot of duties to take care of today, and you're running around. Anything else you'd like to pass along to the listeners tuning into the game who might have their headsets on today?
I would just like to thank everybody in the community for everything they've done to make this a great trip for our Russian friends and to make this a world-class event. This is by far the greatest team effort I've ever been involved with.
Ken,
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for coming over. Head coach Ken O'Keefe of the Allegheny College football team. It's now time for our national anthem. taking on the 5th and 6th graders from the United States. And Jack, earlier this week, you caught up with one of the NFL representatives who was in town, Brian Stabline, and maybe you can intro your interview for us.
Well, first I'd like to just tell our listeners, you and Marilyn Peters did the Russian national anthem. Reason there were no words, Ray, the people of Russia have yet to agree on a national anthem, and that's why just the melody was spoken. But back to this interview with Brian Stabline, wide receiver from the Indianapolis Colts. He played his high school ball at Erie McDowell before moving on to a 3-year starting career with Ohio State, and now he's working out feverishly to try to get the starting job of the Indianapolis Colts. He did see significant playing time, and on Tuesday I caught up with Brian Stabline of the Indianapolis Colts.
Please focus your attention to the center of the field. The points are conducted by Maxwell, NFL Director of Broadcasting and a native of nearby Oil City. Mr. Anthem, Mayor of the City of Mr. President, and an act of Cosmonaut. 1, 2, 3, go! And Mr. Victor Ivanov, founder of
Everybody else, spread out. Defense, I want you over here. Defense, over here. Eric? Defense right here. Defense right here. Defense over here. Running back. Defense. Hey, Mark. We got defense over here. Right here. Mark. Right there. Start it. He's still alive. Come on. White box, guys.
Now let's welcome the players for the kickoff for Friendship Bowl 1. The Friendship Bowl will consist of 4 individual quarters.
Jack Michaels talking with Brian Stabline, Erie native who went to Erie McDowell High School and now a member of the Indianapolis Colts. And, you know, his career was not really given to him. This is a guy that had to work hard at McDowell to get on the roster. And then he had to work hard at Ohio State. Didn't go there with a lot of notoriety. And came to Indianapolis and didn't have a lot of notoriety there either. And it's come up big for their football team, and he definitely fits in with their plan.
And he's come up huge this weekend as well. Brian Stabline, of all the NFL representatives, he has spent the most time in Meadville. I know he lives in Erie, but keep in mind, Ray, it's only 2 weeks and he's got to go back to work. This is his last vacation time, and he has been extremely generous in being in Meadville for the last 72 hours. I know he's been at all the functions over the last few days, both at the press conference at Robertson Field. He was running the offense at practice, and now he's also here today for the Friendship Bowl.
Looks like Roma Demchenko will do the kicking for the Russian 5th and 6th graders for the CLAF, and the Meadville team will be receiving about the 25-yard line. Back deep for Meadville is Chris Catlin. The Russian team is in the red, and here we go for Friendship Bowl. It's a real short kick. Takes a hop taken by one of the up Meadville players, and he crosses the 50 into Russian territory. That's Jason Barrickman. And the Meadville team will have it 1st and 10. Ray Horner, Jack Michaels with you on WMGW. We're going to have some fun. They're playing 4 8-minute quarters in this 5th and 6th grade Little Ritters Friendship Bowl game. Game 2 will start shortly after 7 o'clock with the 7th and 8th graders. And keep in mind that 7th and 8th grade football program for Meadville started just 2 years ago. Ken Achenbaugh has wanted that program inserted for a while. Finally got the funding and the go-ahead, and now they're traveling and taking on other schools' 7th and 8th grade program, when the 7th and 8th grade program in Meadville for years was basically a league team where they would have 5 or 6 teams in the league. Meadville with a split backfield in the white uniforms. And they will turn and give right up the middle, and this is Barrickman, that fullback, and he's hit hard a couple of times, but he's able to pick up about 3 yards, 2nd and 7.
Quarterback for Meadville will be Kevin Zins, at least to start off the ball game, and Jason Barrickman actually reminds me of his namesake, Keith Barrickman, a powerful fullback for the Maplewood Tigers. He's a big guy.
Meadville's head coach on the 5th and 6th grade level is Craig Gump. By the way, the whole Meadville coaching staff really treated this week. Chan Gailey was in town, the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He put on a clinic for all the coaches, Russian and American. 2nd down and 7. Clock at 6:40 and running here in the first quarter of play. Meadville with that wing set, very traditional, the Meadville varsity team. Tight end to the right. Meadville right to left and turn and give up the middle. Nowhere to go for Catlin, the tailback. Maybe a yard. It'll be 3rd down and 7 for the Little Gritters from Meadville. Friendship Bowl Game 1. Right here on WMGW. 3rd and long.
Meadville with Kevin Zins behind center, Barrickman and Catlin in the backfield. Moscow, Russia probably has the advantage in size here today, Ray.
Greg Oliver is a tight end to the left-hand side. Now Barrickman takes a split to the left-hand side. Now he's a flanker, and in motion goes Kenny Chess. Single man is Catlin on 3rd down and long, and they'll throw out of the backfield, and the young Russian defender almost came up with an interception. That was Pasha Tumanov. It'll be 4th down. And Meadville will probably punt the football away on 4th down and 8. Throughout the broadcast this afternoon, we'll be making the proper announcements in regards to the volunteers, the coaches, and everybody that has really lended their hand in making this whole day unravel the way it should. And it's just been a great day in Meadville, Pennsylvania, starting with the parade this morning at 9:30 that traveled up Water Street and then up on Chestnut Street. But it's 4th down and 7. And Meadville will punt the football away with 5:05 running in the first quarter.
And an alert defensive play by Pasha Tumanov that time, Ray, showing good instincts at the defensive end position. He almost had an interception on that particular play.
Looks like Chad Malinowski is back to punt the football away from Meadville. and they won't do a snap from center. They'll hand it right to the punter. And now Malinowski, standing at his own 45, will boot the ball away. Taken by the up man of the Russian team. He's at the 30, running to the far side to the 35, still on his feet to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, down the far side to 35, 30, 25, 20. He is going to go all the way for a touchdown. That's Eugene Chekhov, who goes the distance and returns the punt about 70 yards for a touchdown for the Little Gritters from Russia.
And Chekhov showing blinding speed as he headed up the left side of the field and simply outran everyone. Malinowski was the last Bulldog to have a chance at Chekhov, but Chekhov simply took off the angle and raced down the left sideline for a touchdown. Russia takes an early lead.
Boy, that's the way they draw it up on the scoreboard there. He cut it to the right, on the chalkboard, I should say. Cut it to the right side and then took off on the far side. And as Jack mentioned, the speed of Chekhov, Meadville just could not catch up to him.
The goal line is on the 10-yard line, so even though the ball appears to be spotted on the 12.5, that's actually the 2.5, and Russia, I would assume, will attempt the 2-point try.
They'll go for the 2 points, leading 6-0 with 4:01 to play in the opening quarter.
So we are playing with an 80-yard field today at Robertson Field.
A young Russian player came off the football field, Anshin Karpetian, holding his arm, and they're working on him on the sidelines. But the Russian team will now go for the 2-point conversion as Demchenko's up behind center, turns and gives up the middle, and into the end zone is Mihail Zemskov, and he converts the 2-point play, and it's 8-0 in favor of the Little Gritters from Moscow, Russia. We've been hearing how fundamentally sound they have really evolved, and they returned that. We only saw them on the punt play offensively, and they did that very well. And defensively, we mentioned Tumanov played the defensive end position. The way you draw it up, he kept contained, and then blocked the ball down.
And at the scrimmage the other night, I was talking with a few of the Meadville coaches, and they were really impressed not only with the Russian size, but speed as well. And you saw Chekhov break that one off to the left side, and realistically, no Meadville player had a shot at him, as he just blistered down the left sideline for what amounted to be a 50-yard touchdown run.
The Russian cheerleaders and the Meadville cheerleaders down below our broadcast area. Meadville is in the white, while the Russian youth wearing the red jerseys. And by the way, all these jerseys donated today from the NFL. And each individual that made the trip to the game from Russia and the Meadville lads also got a souvenir football from the NFL. The kick is low, taken by Catlin at the 32 to the 35. Avoids a tackle on the 30. Good return that time by Chris Catlin of Meadville. It'll be 1st and 10 from their own 49-yard line. And that's another thing we should be quick to point out, Jack, as Ken O'Keefe mentioned that during the last 2 weeks of practice, he's really seen the Meadville youth really improve with the diligency in their practices.
Tackle on the play made by Anton Tirananov. As the Meadville Little Gritters, again, these are 5th and 6th graders on the Meadville side of things. And as you see, there is a size differential on the Russian side of the ball, especially that nose guard, Ray.
1st down and 10, Meadville with the wing set, and the officials say put the face mask, face guard, mouth guard in. And that's another thing from the scrimmage the other night, that they were having a tough time keeping those mouth guards in. 1st down and 10, delayed handoff to Catlin running right, nowhere to go. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for Meadville.
That Arshin Karpetian, the nose guard for Russia, extremely big. He plugged that hole up quickly, and there was nowhere to go for Catlin. He had a hand on the play, as did Andrei Makiv, defensive tackle for the Moscow Little Gritters.
It was interesting going over the name pronunciations up here in the broadcast.
More than interesting, right?
I don't know. We had an interpreter giving us the pronunciations and then phonetically spelling it out for us. So.
Excruciating would be a better word.
2nd down and 11. Wing to the right-hand side. Split end left is Barrickman for Meadville. Behind center is Kevin Zins on 2nd down and 11. In motion goes Billy Johnston, and Zins will turn and give up the middle to Catlin again. And he gets back to the line of scrimmage, and right in there with that nose tackle again, Jack. It'll be 3rd down and long for the Meadville team.
Number 72, Arshin Karpetian. He is a horse in the middle of that Russian defensive lineup, and he was taking on 2 blockers that time and still managed to have a hand on the tackle.
Officials today, Bob Stazer, Wes Berkebile, Jack Petruso, Steve Keitlinger, Dale Weimer, and Mike Buzza doing the officiating today.
And Mr. Berkebile, of course, his son happens to be the quarterback of the 7th and 8th grade squad, James.
3rd down and about 11 for the Meadville team. Right to left, we have 1:30 remaining in the first quarter. It's an 8-0 lead for Moscow. The throw is deflected at the line of scrimmage, and it'll be 4th down for Meadville as the young Russian defender Eugene Sagai got in there very quickly and knocked it down. So it'll be 4th down, and Meadville will punt again, and Malinowski, the Meadville punter, will move away. We were wondering if there was some significance with a couple of the Meadville players wearing the red helmets, and I've noticed in looking at the 3 players wearing the red helmets that those are just the very large guys.
Yeah, red standing for extra large in this particular case.
Big mooses wear red helmets. And here we go. Here's the punt by Malinowski. And this is a low liner. And here he comes again, taking it on the run. Running to the near side is Chekhov, and he's still not tackled. He's at 40, and then dragged down at the 41-yard line. Good tackle that time.
Travis Mahoney.
Yeah, Travis Mahoney in on the hit. And 1st and 10 for the Little Gritters. I guess they are called that in Moscow. The Little Gritters from Moscow, the 5th and 6th graders. 1:04 on the game clock.
At least that's the translation we received. The Moscow Little Gritters, their first offensive play from scrimmage. Here comes that big nose tackle, Arshin Karpetian. He'll take a breather.
1st down and 10. I formation behind Roma Demchenko, the quarterback. Turn and give up the middle. A big hole and a run, and this is Chekhov. He's at the 40 to the 35, down to the Meadville 32-yard line. Eugene Chekhov with a big hole through the middle, and he just ran to daylight, and they're deep in the Meadville territory at the 32-yard line.
Roman Demchenko looked really smooth in executing that handoff. I was surprised by it. He looked like a varsity player out there, and Chekhov once again using that speed to explode into the secondary before Meadville was aware of his presence. And now the Meadville defense will take a timeout.
Yeah, they want a timeout to talk to their defense a little bit. So far, the Russian youth have run one offensive play there for a big one. They returned a punt for a touchdown, and on the 2-point conversion, they had no trouble getting that into the end zone. Right now, I'm very impressed with the skill level of the youth of Russia. They have a lot of the skills down, and if you were just walking into Robertson Field and taking a glance at this game, you'd never know that these youngsters never saw football before a year and a half ago.
Not only that, Ray, but remember, they're coming from Russia to a country they've never been to before in most cases, and they're playing before this huge crowd. You mentioned they were looking around with the rock music that was going on at Robertson Field. This is quite an intimidating place to play if you've never experienced it before, but so far the Russians have looked extremely poised, and I've been impressed with Roma Demchenko in that one play. He looked extremely smooth as the quarterback.
Demchenko behind center, fakes the handoff, and he goes to the reverse to Mahir Zemskov, and he loses the ball, and he's smacked for a 7-yard loss and a fumble, and Meadville has recovered the football on the far side. Mahir Zemskov lost the football, then he was knocked and the ball came loose, and Meadville has the first turnover of the afternoon, and they'll take over with 32 seconds to play in the opening quarter. Ray Horner along with Jack Michaels, and Meadville will move right to left. So the first turnover goes Meadville's way.
And I believe it was Brian Mulligan on the recovery for Meadville, and this is something that plagued the Russians in the scrimmage. They consistently moved the ball up and down the field at the 5th and 6th grade level, but turned the ball over on 4 or 5 occasions. And there you saw a perfectly executed fake by Demchenko. However, the fumble on the handoff, and that leads to a Meadville possession.
Of course, keep in mind that the Russian youth have been trained by the Allegheny College coaching staff, so their offense and defense is going to be very similar to Ken O'Keefe's that he runs here in Allegheny College.
Demchenko looking a little bit like Jeff Vilkovsky with that number 12 on his back.
First down and 10, wing to the left-hand side, I formation for Meadville. Zinn's the quarterback, turn and give the Catlin, and he is stuffed right at the line of scrimmage, a yard loss. It'll be second down and 11 for Meadville as the first quarter is over with. 8-0 in favor of Moscow as they lead Meadville here in Friendship Bowl game number 1. And the Moscow touchdown coming on a 70-yard punt return by Eugene Chekhov.
Andre McKeef on that tackle. Big defensive line for the Russians. Number 74 is Ilya Medved. He's a big player on that interior line. We've mentioned on a couple of occasions the nose tackle is Arshin Karpetian, and number 70, Andre McKeef, making that last tackle. So an opposing front line, and when you couple that with number 43, Dima Melenchenko, the Russians have plenty of size up front.
And I guess as you look ahead to the 7th and 8th grade game that we won't be broadcasting on the radio, but we definitely will be watching the contest. We've heard that a number of their players are big in stature.
Huge lines on both sides of the football for the Russians. I've heard at the 7th and 8th grade level, and you can see why. Look at that 5th and 6th grade line in comparison to the Meadville Little Gritters. I'd have to give Russia the superior edge as far as height than we saw Chekhov in the way of speed. So the Russians have plenty of size and speed to go along with that. And again, we can't stress enough that playing consistently for a year, it shows when you're practicing full time that you can pick up the fundamentals, and the Russians have shown their enthusiasm throughout the practices, both in Moscow and now this week in the United States.
It was quite a movement just to get the equipment to Moscow, according to head coach Ken O'Keefe. I remember when the whole process was taking place with getting the boxes when they went over there last year for the clinic. That was quite a movement, but they got it done and they got the practices going, and the result is what we see here today. Second down and 11 for Meadville as they come to the line of scrimmage, ball in the near hash mark, Meadville in the white, and they go and the quarterback dropped the football on the snap. So they will set up a third down and 11 now they'll say a fumble, and Russia has recovered the football. So the team from Moscow will have it first down in Meadville territory, which is marked the 35-yard line, but keep in mind the end zone is on the 10-yard line. So a tough break for the Meadville team after recovering the Moscow fumble. They turn and fumbled away on the snap, and it'll be first down and 10 for this offense that so far has been very similar to our wrecking crew. They've been able to run the football around the ends very wisely, and let's see what they do on the first down and 10 play. They're now moving right to left with the red jerseys, and once again the jerseys all donated for this afternoon's game by the NFL. The NFL endorsement has been gigantic to this project. We talked about Brian Stabline. Buffalo Bills linebacker Marlo Perry was here on Tuesday. We'll be hearing from him at halftime. Chad Brown of the Steelers was here. Here's a turn and give, and this is breaking into the open and an easy touchdown. Taking the ball into the end zone this time is Eugene Mustavoy, and a touchdown for the Moscow team, and there was just no one there on that side of the ball for Meadville on that play.
Another easy touchdown, and they had switched quarterbacks. They had decided to go with Arshin Varlamov, and he handed off, and as you mentioned, a huge hole over the left side opened up by the Russian offensive line, and the result, an easy touchdown without a hand being laid on the ball carrier.
So it's now 14-0 in favor of Moscow, 7:37 to play in the first half. And they will go for the two-point conversion. I formation in the backfield. Turn and give to Molinoff again through the middle, and he has the 2 points. And it's now 16-0 in favor of the 5th and 6th graders from Moscow. Now, we were at the press conference, Jack, on Tuesday and talking to some of the people that the Moscow teams really had a little bit of pressure on them coming over here to the United States and playing well to keep up their national funding as far as them continuing to be able to practice and work on the game of American football. And so far, I would say they've been quite impressive.
No question about it, Ray. And right now, American football in Russia is confined to Moscow. And in talking with Yuri Malenchenko, who of course is the founder of the Children's League of American Football, he was talking about the need to spread it to other areas in Russia to keep the movement of American football strong in that particular country. And even though Moscow is its largest city, we'd still like to see it spread throughout Russia. And that, right now, is what Malenchenko is focusing his efforts on.
Roma Demchenko will do the kicking for the Moscow team.
But I have been impressed with the fundamentals, not only the ball carrying of Chekhov, but also the offensive line right now completely dominating. And that's been an area, Ray, we've talked about in the past, about the Russians learning the fundamentals, trying to find the stance in the first few weeks, as Coach Ken O'Keefe alluded to. And so far they've been finding their stance and also finding effective blocking techniques here this afternoon.
So we'll get ready to kick it away. It's a 16-0 Moscow lead over the Meadville team. And I think what the Meadville fans also have to keep in perspective is that they are taking on a team that represents some of the best youth, I should say, from Moscow, which is a population of 12 million. They actually come from a suburb of Moscow that has about 2 million people as population, and they're bringing the best of the lot there over to Meadville, Pennsylvania to take on their little graders and then their 7th and 8th graders. So when you've got a huge abundance of talent to pick from, and if they continue to work on the game, you're going to see maybe a difference in talent. Now here comes Meadville on the return. Catlin slips and falls on the far side at the 37-yard line. And it'll be 1st and 10 for Meadville left to right.
And of course, the Russians have also been playing football year-round. There is no shortage of season. They're allowed to play it during school. And for a full year now, you heard Ken O'Keefe mention the date June 27th, the day that the equipment arrived. And since then, the Russians have been practicing in preparations for this trip, whereas the Meadville Little Glitters, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, have only been in action for these couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Just a couple of weeks here, they've been working on their game. Of course, their season doesn't begin until September, and a timeout is called by the Moscow team. If you missed our pregame, the whole thing started when Ken O'Keefe took a contingent of NCAC All-Stars to Moscow to take on a semi-pro team, the Moscow Bears. He met up with Victor Ivanov, and I think at that time they were coached by Mr. Belitsky. I don't think he is involved in the program anymore, but those two were instrumental. I remember interviewing Mr. Belitsky and Mr. Ivanov when they first came to the United States a few years back. Became very interested in the American football game. Became very interested in head coach Ken O'Keefe. Liked what he had to say and provided to them, and then we've seen the whole thing evolve from that. I see Ken O'Keefe down on the sidelines right now talking to some of the Meadville coaches.
And Yuri Malenchenko, who I mentioned was the president of the Children's League of American Football, he's also an active cosmonaut, so he's a busy guy, but he's been able to devote a large portion of his time to building the youth football in Moscow. And Ray, ultimately, of course, you'd like to think that this would hope to the NFL perhaps playing an exhibition game. Of course, it's played in places all over the world. The first preseason game this year will be held in Tokyo, and Moscow, Russia is a likely host. If this type of game continues to be successful, I would expect to see the NFL and Moscow start negotiations as far as a preseason exhibition game to be played in Moscow.
Yeah, the NFL endorsement very big. And in regards to what Jack was saying, we've seen the NFL open the doors in Mexico City a couple of years ago, Tokyo, of course, up in Canada. And Moscow would be a great movement for the Meadville team. Here we go, 1st down and 10 for Meadville now. 7:30 to play on our first half clock. It's a 16-0 Moscow lead over Meadville, and Zins goes to the ball, and in and out of the hands of Ryan Lilly, the tight end. It'll be 2nd down and 10, but that was a good throw that time by Kevin Zins, the Meadville quarterback. 2nd and 10.
Coverage on the play by Slava Chesnikov.
Very nice article, by the way, in the New York Times today on the Friendship Bowl. I had a chance to read that earlier today. They did an outstanding job in covering the event. 2nd and 10.
NFL Films also here, Ray. ESPN plans to do a feature outside the lines. They're going to incorporate this particular game into an outside the lines special later on this fall.
2nd down and 10 for the Meadville team with a wing set. Wing to the right-hand side, I set, and Zins, the quarterback, turns and gives to his tailback, who was smothered at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down and 10. That time, the ball carrier was Josh Draco. It'll be 3rd down for the Meadville team. So we're seeing the youth from Moscow really dominate the line of scrimmage. Looking for the Russian cheerleaders right now.
NFL Films also important to the development of youth football in Russia to the degree, Ray, that I understand in talking with Dick Maxwell, that the NFL plans to send those NFL films over to Russia, use the video highlights each week, and that should spark interest in that community as well. So I think NFL Films and ESPN and all this national exposure can only help the youth football movement over Moscow.
3rd down and 10 for the Meadville team. Zins looks on the far side, and now he'll position Berrickman, his wingback, to the right side of scrimmage. Split backs behind Zins, the quarterback. On 3rd down and 10, Berrickman in motion, and in the backfield, he turns and the ball is popped loose, and Moscow has recovered the fumble at the 36-yard line. That time Meadville was trying the inside reverse to Berrickman, the wingback. And it never materialized as the team from Moscow got deep penetration into the backfield and recovered the fumble. It'll be 1st down and 10 for Moscow with 5:14 on our first half clock. Ray Horner, Jack Michaels with you on WMGW. It's a 16-0 lead for the 5th and 6th graders from Moscow as they're leading the Meadville 5th and 6th graders.
The recovery of that fumble made by Pasha Koroshilov, a linebacker, wearing the number 51 on his back. A couple of Moscow players shaken up. Right now I see Dima Kotlienko. He's holding his left shoulder on the sidelines.
1st down and 10. And now in at quarterback is Max Drobroff. And they turn it right up the middle. Goes the halfback into the Meadville secondary for a big gain. For the tackle was made by Ryan Jack of Meadville. And it'll be an 8-yard gain.
That was Eugene Segui, actually from the fullback position that time. And the Russians are taking advantage of the superior strength up front. Most of these plays right off top.
2nd down, we'll say 1 yard to go. Up behind center. And they'll look to throw over the middle and making the catch. And then there's a fumble, and I think Meadville has recovered the fumble. Colin Zimmerman jumps on the football. The catch was made, and then it came loose. And yes, indeed, Vova Cherney had the reception. It was knocked loose. Zimmerman hops on it. And it's a 1st down and 10 situation for the Meadville 5th and 6th graders. Our 3rd turnover of the football game.
And if you're wondering whether Moscow understands the complexities of this game, it was interesting when the ball popped loose. Eugene Segui, the fullback, put his hands on his head in just indignation and slowly trotted off the field. The Russians have had their turnover problems. That's been their one weakness that we've noticed this week, both in the scrimmage and here this afternoon in game competition. They've got a lot of skills. They need to take better care of the football. Of course, that comes with time.
1st down and 10 for the Meadville 5th and 6th graders. They're in the white. Team from Moscow in the red, and they come up to the line of scrimmage. Meadville has some big lads on the offensive line as well, and now the team from Moscow will take a timeout. As I mentioned, coming up at halftime, you'll hear our interview with linebacker Marlo Perry. the Buffalo Bills. We talk a little bit about the Bills, and then we talk about the development of Russian football and the viewpoint from the Players Association in the NFL of the NFL spreading. And Marlo Perry had some interesting words to tell me on Tuesday, so we'll hear from him coming up.
Beautiful afternoon for football, Ray. We've been worried all week about the sometimes fickle nature of Meadville weather, but so far this week we have nothing but beautiful sunshine. And here tonight at Robertson Field, perfect football weather, 70 degrees on a summer day, and it's Moscow and Meadville. First international game played between the Moscow and Meadville youth.
What a crowd, too. The community is really coming out to support. They are just jammed in here, basically standing room only at Robertson Field. And it'll be first down. Don't forget they have the 7th and 8th grade game coming up during the 7 o'clock hour. And then the group Wicked Licks will perform. And then capping the whole day off will be a real nice fireworks display being put on here at Robertson Field.
You almost forget it's July 4th on a day like this, Ray, with so many
Yeah, I haven't had a
events
hot
back
dog
in the
today.
community. Exactly.
No hot dogs,
No greasy
hamburger.
French fries?
No. All I've had is a salad. What's going on? First down and 10. Meadville with the football, and on the run this time, taking it is Josh Dracup, and not much running room, 2-yard gain. It'll be second down and 8. Looked like he had a hole there for just a moment, and we saw some speed from the Moscow youth on the defensive side of the football as they closed the hole down, and it'll be second down and 8.
Number 73, Andre Kamov, actually tripped up the runner that time, just enough to make him stumble and fall to the turf for just a 2-yard gain. When you're right, Ray, that whole right side was wide open for Meadville.
Second down and 8. As I mentioned, there are some big fellas on that offensive line. Michael Mellison up there on that front line, as well as Charlie Steiner.
Number 76, Charlie Steiner. I've noticed him as well, Ray.
Second down and 8. Zins will turn. This is Dracup again, and this time he's smothered at the line of scrimmage. It'll be third down and long for the Meadville team with 2:50 on our first half clock. A 16-0 Moscow lead.
Dima Kotlivenko on that tackle. Big, agile defensive end coming over to make the play, number 81.
Plans next year is to have the Meadville 7th and 8th graders make the trip over to Moscow and play the youth over there. And things got started in a big way at the press conference as McDonald's threw their hat into the project with a very nice donation.
John McCarney of McCarney Enterprises, proprietor of roughly 25 area McDonald's restaurants, anteed up $10,000, and then McDonald's Corporation matched that offer. So the total donation from McDonald's, $20,000, and we've heard varying degrees, but roughly the estimate for 100 Meadville representatives to head over to Moscow in the ballpark of $175,000. So there is work to be done. However, McDonald's getting things off on the right foot, and from what we've seen, Ray, in this Meadville community, I would not be surprised if those financial hitches cleared up, the way this community has supported the project to this date.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jack. This thing is really steamrolled. You got to go back to Ken O'Keefe, the way this whole thing is definitely developed in the last couple of years. He stayed with it. Sometimes, I know in talking to Ken, it looked bleak that some things would get going, but fellows like Mr. Bob Power in town and a couple of the other gentlemen put a lot of work into this. We can talk about the committee members as the game goes on here. But this is just exciting to see this happen in our community. Third down and 9 for the Meadville youth. Wingman in motion. Zins the quarterback. Looks like a halfback pass. They're throwing it upfield, and it's almost intercepted. So young Chris Catlin tried the halfback pass, and unfortunately didn't work. It'll be fourth down and 9. Now, have to remember that play when Meadville takes to the field this coming fall.
And Oleg Ivanov almost made the interception. He collided with one of his own players, angrily pounding the turf, for he knew he had a beat on that football.
I guess the scrimmage the other night was quite emotional on both sides of the football. Victor Ivanov, the head coach of the youth from Moscow, and even Ken Achenbach. I talked to Ken. I said, heard you were emotional at the scrimmage. He said, I can't coach any other way.
Well, when you've practiced for 2-3 solid weeks and you finally get a chance to get a crack at the opposition, you're going to see some interesting developments. And certainly it was a hard-hitting scrimmage the other night.
4th down and 9, and Meadville will punt with Malinowski again. And he boots it away. It's a low liner. And taking it and letting it roll and roll. And finally it goes dead at about the 50-yard line. It'll be 1st down and 10 for Moscow.
Slava Chesnikov downing it at the 49-yard line.
So here comes Moscow back out into the football field with 2:09 to play in our first half. It's a 16-0 Moscow lead over Meadville. They're in Friendship Bowl game number 1.
See Brian Stabline, wide receiver of the Colts, and our pregame guest down on the sidelines. What a time commitment he's made. He was with you for the parade at 9:30 this morning, taking his time to spend all day here in Meadville, Pennsylvania. I know he worked with the participants at the Fun Pass and Kick competition held early this afternoon.
In the football skills competition. Then he was over at our sister station, WMDE, signing autographs for about a half hour as well. Here comes Moscow at the football field. This is Chekhov taking the pitch and turning the right corner and picking up about 11 yards down to the Meadville 40-yard line. And that young running back has some speed to the outside. That was Pasha Dementinko.
I was going to say Russia, depth at tailback as well. They've got a couple of young runners who really have speed to the outside. We've seen Chikov earlier in the game, and that time Dementinko showing his stuff, strutting up the right side for a 1st down, and now Pasha Tumanov will come in as a wideout on the left side.
We saw him on the defensive side of the football. And now back to pass is the quarterback, and he throws it upfield for about a 6-yard gain. Didn't have a chance to see who was in at quarterback on that play. That looked like it was Arshin Varlamov who was in at quarterback. That will be 2nd down and about 5. Penalty flag down. And this is the first penalty flag we've seen in the football game. 1:33 play in the first half. And an illegal man downfield against the team from Moscow. Well, that's another thing coming out of the scrimmage. They said they almost could have called a penalty on every play against the youth from Moscow. So it's going to be interesting to see how the game was officiated today. And basically the officials have let them play.
As they should.
Yeah.
The outcome of this game,
Unless
not
it
nearly
becomes
as important.
grotesque
Right.
with the grabbing and throwing.
We haven't seen the face mask penalties that apparently were in full force at the scrimmage the other night. Those are dangerous to the player being face masked. But so far today, we haven't seen anything illegal in a dangerous way. I was a little curious as to what number 13 was doing racing around in the backfield here prior to that play.
He is a little guy, isn't he?
I thought-
Bruno Clemente.
I thought they were...
To the left-hand side. They pitch it back to Pasha, and he drops the football. That means Pasha Dentinko drops the football, recovers it though. It's about a 7-yard loss, and it is now 2nd down in a bundle. We'll call it 2nd and 20. Just under 90 seconds to play in the half, and the Meadville 5th and 6th graders will call time, hoping to get that football back, Jack.
It's a solid strategy on their part. They might go into the 2-minute offense with Kevin Zins at the helm, but there you see another Russian problem in terms of handling the football, but alertly falling on it.
And Jack, as always, when you have just a couple weeks of practice, it's tough to run that 2-minute drill.
That's true. How many timeouts does Zins have at his disposal?
I don't think even Kerry Conklin can run the 2-minute drill with just 2 weeks of practice. 2nd down here, 20 yards to go, 1:28. Play in the half, a 16-0 Moscow lead. And to the line of scrimmage we go. Back to pass is Varlamov. Throws it into the flats, and it's incomplete as it bounces in front of his intended receiver, who is Pasha Tumanov. It'll be 3rd down.
A big hit led on Varlamov by number 64, Clayton Curtis, a defensive tackle for Meadville. Varlamov, a little bit like John Hadel in there. A slight frame, sidearm delivery.
Hopefully he's not looking for Lance Allworth.
And actually, these Russian jerseys remind me of the old AFL colorful jerseys.
2 wide outside formation for the team from Moscow on 3rd down and 26 with a minute to go. Varlamov with a handoff and taking the running play is Turnoff. And he gets back to the line of scrimmage. Good tackle that time by Scott Miller of the Meadville team. It'll be 4th down, and now the team from Moscow will punt the football.
Scott Miller, one of the players I had a chance to talk to at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. He was kind enough to spend a few moments with us. We were up here for an hour talking to Ken O'Kee and Ken Ockenbaugh, among others.
It'll be 4th down as the clock is at 49 seconds. Back to return the punt.
Looks like Meadville has the return on.
Chris Catlin is the deep man. Really respects the punting ability here of the 5th and 6th grader from Moscow. He's giving him about a 60-yard stretch. Might want to shorten it a bit. Maybe they're not, maybe they're just playing safe.
Well, maybe they've scouted. Maybe this guy is the next Ray guy.
Maybe he's the $6 million man back there as well. They're giving, I don't know if I've seen Ray Guy hit it that far. Let's see what happens, though. Here's the punt. And it goes about 10 yards on the far side. Picked up on a couple of hops. Maybe we'll get a good chance for a return here at the far side. And being bumped out of bounds at the 45 was Josh Draycott from Meadville. And they'll have it 1st and 10, 46 seconds to play here in the first half. 16-0, Moscow leading.
And here comes some horses for Meadville.
Yeah, those 3 red helmets come out on the football field. That means they're bringing the lumber.
74 Chad Malinowski. We've seen him in punting duties.
Charlie Steiner and Michael Millicent out there.
Yes. That's the muscle of the Meadville team right there.
Ken Ockenbaugh just may move those 3 right to the JV level.
Charlie Steiner looks like he's ready.
He looks like Charlie Steiner from ESPN, who's a big guy in his own right.
That's true. And not afraid to mix it up. I've seen video clips of Charlie Steiner in action.
He fights?
He got in a fight one time defending John McEnroe about 15 years ago.
Oh, that's good. 1st down. Zins to throw under pressure. Throws it upfield, and it's intercepted at the 35. Returned back to the 40-yard line. Zins showed us an arm, but it was picked off by Sasha Golak. And it's 1st down and 10 for the Moscow team with 37 seconds to play in the half. And Zins showed a good arm there.
And Sasha showed outstanding leaping ability. He sailed through the air and picked that one off like he was Rod Woodson.
Yeah, he played it well.
Outstanding interception, and Moscow will take over with 37 seconds to go. And now let's see what the 2-minute drill for Russia looks like. They'll have Arshin Varlamov at quarterback still.
4 turnovers in the first half of this football game. Well, you know, when you only got a couple weeks of practice.
That's true. Beautiful evening here in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Barely a cloud in the sky.
Today?
No, it doesn't feel like July 4th at all to me.
Did you
And
have
a couple
salmon?
of iced teas, no salmon,
No salmon today?
fish sticks.
Fish sticks. Those are good. 1st down and
Healthy.
10. Mrs. Paul's?
No, Vandekamps.
It's a first. And on the wrong 42 and being tripped up was Slava Chesnikov, who came from the tight end position on the reverse. He's tripped up after a 3-yard gain. It'll be 2nd down and 7. NFL Films crew, they've been here for basically the whole week.
5 days,
Yeah.
5 full days, visiting some of the families that are hosting some of the Russian representatives.
2nd down and 7.
From what I understand, the Russian youth love Sega and Nintendo, just like the American youth do, and now we have a penalty on the play. Or some infraction.
Matter of fact, I guess we were hearing the story the other day that some of them were playing Sega and they were just shouting in the air, win, win, win. 16-0 is our score at the end of the first half. Moscow is leading the Meadville team in Friendship Bowl game number 1.
God love him.
Let's
football skills competition was held today at Robertson Field. Accuracy and distance were measured for running passes. 195 participants took part in the event, which was organized by Gary Reed of the Meadville YMCA and John Petruccio of the Friendship Thru Football Committee. All those involved received a t-shirt courtesy of the Meadville Medical Center. Here are the results. Age 8, first place, Alan Lawrence, runner-up, Matthew Houston. Age 9, Duncan Harrison, runner-up, Brandon Yannisek. Age 10, Roman Shuzak, runner-up, Chris Krebling. Age 11, first place, Chad Malinowski, runner-up, Kyle Smith. Age 12, first place, Arthur Cartesian, runner-up, Roman Matitius. Age 13, first place, Matt Raycup, runner-up, Darius Hughes. And age 14, first place, Nate Ross and Jason Gordon.
I saw you one night in Edinburgh.
All of whom were able to come on WMGW and promote this event and lend their time in a very difficult, trying time for them. Only a few more weeks before camps open up in full swing. National Football League representatives have done a solid job of donating their time, and their cooperation with this event has been much appreciated.
Well, we're ready to go for the second half. The Meadville Little Gritters are in the white uniforms, while the youth from Moscow are in the red uniforms. And we mentioned throughout the broadcast that the jerseys have all been donated by the NFL. And also at the press conference, we saw the NFL donate souvenir football to each and every one of the youth participating in the Friendship Bowl games 1 and 2. Real nice gift given by Harry Gamble, who was here for the NFL. And the Meadville team will be kicking off to start the second half.
Trailing 16-0. Russia came out, scored on a punt return, 50 yards by Eugene Chekhov, and then Chekhov exploded for a touchdown run from scrimmage to give Russia its margin. Right now it's 16-0. Both two-point conversions were successful on runs up the middle.
You know, a lot of people have gotten caught up into the game itself and, you know, Moscow versus the United States and what they must do to win or what this team is going to do.
It's not the point.
I really haven't got caught up in the score at any point. I think just the group itself and the event itself is big enough for me, and I really don't even feel like looking at the scoreboard most of the time. I think the Moscow team definitely has the big advantage coming from the size of a city like Moscow, but the important thing is the spread of football, the support of the community, and what it has done for this community. I think that's what we have to look at for a successful day in Meadville on this July 4th.
And I think the community of Meadville understands that this is more of a chance for us to show off our city. When I say us, the community of Meadville and its surrounding areas. The city of Meadville has a unique opportunity to show off this part of the country to members of another country who are seeing the United States for the first time. That's a rare opportunity. Maybe once in a lifetime do you get to see that sort of opportunity come your way. And I think the Meadville community has responded in a big way in the events here today, not only the parade and the ceremony of these two games. The whole atmosphere throughout this whole week has been one of cooperation.
Well, Meadville will kick the ball away, and Chad Malinowski has it teed up and ready to go for the second half. Meadville in the white and Moscow in the red, with Moscow leading 16-0. And Malinowski's kick is a pretty good one on the far side, dropped by the Moscow player. Now it's picked up around the 30-yard line and running to his left, and still on the line, and finally being tackled is Roman Chumath. It'll be first down and 10 for Moscow at their own 35-yard line. So we'll get to see the Moscow offense.
Ryan Lilly applying the hit for Meadville as Moscow comes up, leading 16-0, and at the quarterback position continues to be Arshim Varlamov. We saw Roma Demchenko early on in this ball game, but he has not returned to action since the opening series.
First down and 10 for the youth from Moscow at their own 34-yard line, moving right to left, ball in the near hash mark. And the Russian youth will come up to the line of scrimmage. Tight end takes a short split to the left-hand side. I formation in the backfield. Quarterback Varlamov up behind center has his team set. Fullback is Eugene Sagai. And
delay a game, perhaps?
Now they're set and ready to go. And Varlamov, the quarterback, goes up the middle to his fullback Sagai for a 1-yard gain. Second down and 10. Hit in the middle by Jimmy Longstreth, defensive tackle for Meadville. It'll be second down and 9. Moscow looked a little confused that time on the line of scrimmage.
Varlamov was adjusting the stances of each of his offensive linemen, and they never really got on track on that particular play.
Second down and 9. Clock ticking. We're playing 4 8-minute quarters today. High set. Varlamov, the quarterback, turning, give to his tail. Ducks under one tackler, makes a beautiful run, and breaks it into the clear. He's going down the far side. He's to the 30, the 10, touchdown for Moscow. Just a wonderful run by Eugene Chekhov as he ducked under a Meadville would-be tackler and took it the distance for the score, 65 yards and a touchdown.
Eugene Chekhov. He shook off a couple tackles and then just used his speed to run away from the Meadville secondary and took his bows in the end zone. Moscow extends to a 22-0 lead, and that's The third time this evening that we have seen Cheekov break a huge run where he's used his speed to just completely run away from the Meadville secondary.
He really showed some athleticism on that run as he took it through the middle, ducked under the tackler, broke a tackle, and then took it the distance for the score.
Eugene Cheekov. I have been impressed with his ability.
Now they'll go for the two-point conversion. You can hear the Russian cheerleaders in the background. To the line of scrimmage comes Moscow. Lead of 22-0. Not unless we missed a few scores, Jack.
And Russia will take a timeout.
They're confused.
Number 21 is confused, perhaps because there's another 21 on the field.
Max Dorvov. A lot of people in attendance this afternoon. Hopefully they'll stay for game 2. And then, of course, Wicked Licks and the fireworks will cap off the whole day.
Max Dvorov can't be more than 4 feet tall out there. He's a little guy. WMGW also in conjunction with Meadville Master Antenna, who will be broadcasting game 2.
Armstrong Cable Services definitely
Now,
have.
is that the new name?
Mhm.
Armstrong Cable Services.
They've been all over the place today. They were at the parade this morning. They were over at the dedication ceremonies, and they're here with us. And you're right, Jack. WMGW and Armstrong Cable Services. Fantastic working relationship, Jim Cook and Company. And the two-point conversion fails. And Meadville will be getting the football back after the kickoff. It's 22-0 in favor of Moscow. And I guess when they scrimmaged the other night, it was like a 5-touchdown to 1-touchdown differential in the scrimmage in favor of Moscow.
And Moscow has shown once again here this evening that their size and strength are two forces to be reckoned with. They have played extremely solid football with the exception of the turnover bug, which has bit them as it did the other night in the scrimmage. They've basically been stopping themselves. At no point has Meadville been able to put up a real solid defensive stand. Russia with only 1 punt here this evening. And Eugene Cheekov has been the offensive star. He has a punt return for a touchdown of 50 yards, a 35-yard run for a score, and just now broke off a 65-yard scamper to make it 22-0 in favor of Moscow.
I heard you were almost dancing out there with the Russians earlier today.
Yes, I had to scurry out of there quickly.
Did not want to show off your Adrian Zamid feet?
No, I really had no interest in doing that.
Okay, I hear.
Although I enjoyed the Russian dancers. I just did not want to join them.
Onside kick, Jack, or just a kick that malfunctioned. And there's a scramble
I
for
think
the
Russia
loose
got it.
ball, and I think Moscow has recovered at their own 47-yard line. It'll be first down and 10 for Moscow with 5:09 to play in quarter number 3. The Russian dancers, who put on a nice show during the parade and a spectacular show, I guess, at the dedication ceremonies, then had part of their performance where they went out into the crowd and gathered in American men to dance with them.
Including Todd Hart from
And I heard at that
WMGW.
point all they saw were your heels.
That's
running
right.
the other way.
Scurrying in total fear. Shaken up on the play, by the way, Eugene Mustavoy. You're watching on Armstrong Cable. He was the player on your screen, number 22.
How did Todd do? Todd Hart's
About as well as could be expected. He looked like he had just won the Masters with that sport jacket he had on today. Did you notice that?
Yeah, the green. Okay, a penalty flag has been thrown on the football field. Not sure of the reason why. Haven't been given an indication. Starting to get a little breezy up here.
There has been a penalty flag dropped. However, to this point, the officials have made no move towards moving the football back or forwards. Meadville coaches motioning it for it to be moved back, and finally they're going to step off this penalty, I believe.
4:08 on our third quarter clock.
A 3-yard penalty.
So it'll be first down and long. I formation. Wideouts left and right, and Moscow right to left in front of us. Turn and give to the fullback, Sagai. And he's able to pick up a couple. It'll be second down and about 11 yards to go for Moscow, Russia. Tackle made by Meadville's Josh Erickson.
And he's shaken up on the play.
And another timeout as one of the Moscow coaches comes out to make sure his player's okay. And now the Meadville coaches come out. Guess they're set. Second down and 11.
Number 31 shaken up on the play. Slightly Anton Tikharanov. Or some rough facsimile thereof.
Second down and long. Close enough to. And now Russian team had one too many tight ends on the field. They haul one off. They bring another one back on. Eugene Churlin.
And another timeout will be taken by the team from Russia.
Little confusion here now with 3:27 remaining in the third quarter. Time continues to evaporate. Not many plays being run. See the McDonald's banners all over Robertson Field. We mentioned in the first half, they have definitely thrown their hat into the next movement in this project to bring the Meadville youth to Moscow next year. John McCarney McDonald's a terrific donation on Tuesday at the press conference.
That's true. McCarney Enterprises forking over $10,000 in support of the Friendship Thru football program, and McDonald's Corporation matched that $10,000. So the total contribution for McDonald's $20,000, and roughly $175,000 is expected to be what's necessary for about 100 Meadville representatives to make the trip next year.
Turn and give up the middle, and on the run was Pasha Dementinko. He picks up a few yards through the middle of the Meadville defense. It'll be third down now with 3 minutes to play in the third quarter. Now Eugene Chikov is back into that backfield for Moscow. He's dangerous. Quarterback is Arshin Varlamov. He comes up behind center. I formation, Sagai and Chikov in the backfield behind Varlamov. Third down and 5. Turn and give to the fullback Sagai, and he picks up 2, setting up a fourth down and 3. And I think the punt team has been sent out onto the football field. Victor Ivanov, who was playing on that semi-pro team when Ken O'Keefe made his initial trip to Moscow as a former rugby player and was playing semi-pro football in Russia. He's on the sidelines right now talking to his coaches, and he came up on the podium this morning during the parade, and he wouldn't sit down. They kept saying, "Victor, your seat's here," and had his name on it. I said, no. And I finally said something to Ken O'Keefe. I said, "Ken, Victor won't sit down." He says he will not sit down until Yuri Malenchenko sits down, because he is the president of the CLAF, and he was showing him some respect, so he would not sit down until Malenchenko sat down. He was like my henchman behind me, because he's a big guy.
Yes, you don't have to worry about where you're headed with Victor Ivanov behind your back. Victor Ivanov, you mentioned he was a rugby player. He's more than just a rugby player. He's one of Russia's greatest rugby players ever, fabled for his rugby ability. And as you mentioned, he moved over to play semi-pro football to get the Moscow Bears going in the early 90s. And that's how Victor Ivanov and Ken O'Keefe came to meet, and 4 years later, we have the July 4th, 1996 version of the Friendship Bowl. And hopefully next year in Moscow, there will be a second rendition of the Friendship Bowl.
Here's the punt. Taken by Meadville's Chatlin. Drops it, picks it up at the 30, looking for running room and tackled at the 34-yard line. 2:15 to play in the third quarter. It is a 22-0 Moscow lead over Meadville, and let's see if the Meadville Little Gritters can get something going offensively. They've had a tough time so far in this game against I think, a quick Russian defense. Not so much their bulk, even though they are big on that side of the football, but Meadville has some weight on their side of the offensive line as well. But what has really impressed me is their athleticism and their quickness. And I didn't expect them to be this quick. I thought they'd be a little choppy on that side of the football, not quite as fluid as they are. But they are fast. First down and 10.
And have a natural instinct for where the football is going, Ray. We saw in the first play from scrimmage, almost an interception was recorded by a defensive end.
Zins, the quarterback, will pitch it back to his tailback, goes over the head of Scott Miller, and he covers it up back at the 25 for about a 10-yard loss. It'll be second down and 10. Miller did well just to recover the football. And it's second down and long as we're into the final minute of the third quarter. We'd like to say hello to everybody listening on WMGW and watching us along on Armstrong Cable. Second down and long for Meadville. Channel 23.
Yes. You see the Meadville players huddling up if you're watching on Channel 23 as they come to the line of scrimmage, and you see what we're talking about when we mention the red helmets.
Three big guys. Second down and 20. Split back. Zins, the quarterback, looks for a reverse, and then he has nowhere to go, and he's going to lose about 4 more yards. Once again, it was the penetration by the Moscow defensive line that broke that play up, and there are penalty flags dropped on the football field, and to wait and see what this penalty will be. Jack, I see your parents making their way out of the football field.
Oh yes, I'd like to say a special hello to them on July the 4th.
It's
the only time I've seen them.
Watch you don't bang off that pole down there, Mrs. Michaels. They're waving like they're dignitaries. Waving to everybody. Okay, one of the youth from Moscow, a little banged up, and he'll be coming out of the football game.
I saw your mother today at the Diamond Park ceremony.
Taking her pictures.
Yeah, that's right. She always finds her way into the front row. It's usually the television stations and then Lucy.
Yes. She's very sly at getting what she wants in the picture department. She's been doing it for a number of years.
She was pumping out the rolls of film. She changed too while I was standing there.
Second down and long, and they go up the middle. And this is a good run here by Meadville. Breaking it into the clear is Bergman, and he brings it all the way to the Moscow 45-yard line with 10 seconds to go in the third period. That's the best offensive play of the day for the Meadville team, and that may finish off our third quarter. Our score 22-0 in favor of Moscow as the third quarter comes to a close. But an excellent job offensively on that play by the Meadville team. Did you happen to see my dad's 37 Buick in the parade this morning?
No, I didn't. Was that?
It's a Buick.
Dad's?
Yeah.
37 Buick.
Yeah, he rebuilds them. Big yellow.
Is that
Buick.
right? No, I didn't have an opportunity to see it. I didn't know you had a car in the parade today.
He also has a 56 Mercury. Now he's rebuilding a Corvette. I wish I had some of those skills, but usually while he was doing that, I was on the side yard hitting the football. So I don't have any of those. Well, I don't know about that, but that's definitely why I don't. I'm not handy with a wrench.
I see.
I'm not Mr. Good Wrench. That's for sure.
Big run from Jason Berrickman, set up by a great play fake, and it was only the speed of Eugene Sagai, the fullback for Russia, also doubling as a linebacker, who chased Berrickman down and dragged him down. Otherwise, that would have been a sure touchdown for Meadville. Best offensive play of the day for the Meadville Little Gritters.
They've tightened it up a little bit in the second half. I think the Meadville Little Gritters have played much better on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. And that offensive play, as we mentioned, their best play of the day. And now they'll come out with a first down and 10.
And a fresh unit. No red helmets out there.
So those three big bruisers are getting a breather. Coaching staffs, I wanted to make sure that we mention everybody involved because the coaches have really donated a lot of time. Craig Gump, Charlie Palmer, Danny Ogello, Mark Zimmerman, Hank Zimmerman, Dan Varndell, Mike Nadgett, Paul Manning, Dana Mason, Dave Piper, Ross Varndell, Ryan Newbert, Ray Newbert, Mike Barco, Steve Berger, Mike Power, Troy Massoni, Craig Alamo, and John Bonanovsky. They've all donated a lot of time in the last couple of weeks getting these youth members from the Meadville area ready to play this football game today.
Several of those coaches, former Meadville Bulldog players themselves. Children's League of American Football, Little Gritters. A ton of coaches on their side of things. President Yuri Malenchenko, Vice President Victor Ivanov.
First down and 10 for Meadville as we start the fourth quarter with a 22-0 score in favor of Moscow. Of course, we mentioned the score is not the big thing here today. You got to look at the long-term goals. And on to run to the right side, a 6-yard loss by Meadville's Nick Phillips. It'll be second down and long.
Andrei Belitsky made the hit for Russia.
And I would have to imagine that he has some relationship to the Belitsky that was involved in this movement back 5 years ago. Second down and 16 now for the Meadville Little Gritters.
If that's the case, then his father would be very proud of him on that play as Andre chased down Phillips, showing outstanding pursuit and a fine fundamental tackle for the 6-yard loss.
Second down, 16 yards to go for the Meadville Little Gritters. They're now right to left in front of us here in the fourth and final quarter of game one of the Friendship Bowl. Back to pass is Phillips, and he wings it on the right side, incomplete. It'll be third down.
And through the hands of Ilya Garlov, who almost had an interception, and had he been able to make the catch, he probably would have had a touchdown.
I think it was inspiring at the parade this morning as we saw all the fire trucks and the trucks carrying not only the Meadville football players from the Little Gritters right on up to the varsity level, but the Russians players, the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And we saw the Meadville contingent standing and clapping as the Moscow youth went by on the fire trucks. So, good show of sportsmanship and realizing that the community definitely knows what this program is all about. It's not the scoreboard. It's what this means to not only Meadville, Pennsylvania, but to the United States in general. That's why this program has been covered nationally by the New York Times, by NFL Films, and as Jack mentioned, ESPN is going to do an outside-the-line story on this whole program. The long-term goals is what you're looking at, and Ken O'Keefe certainly not circling the scoreboard when he started this project some 4.5, 5 years ago. He's definitely looking for football to spread, and that's a guy who thinks and lives and breathes football, not so much on the NFL level, but on the collegiate level, but football in general. And I think he deserves a giant pat on the back. I know I've mentioned his name a lot, but he's definitely responsible for this day happening. Not to say that many other people haven't contributed in their own special way, but definitely this day would not be here without Ken O'Keefe.
And not just to say that Ken O'Keefe's whole focus is on football. His whole focus, in my opinion, or part of that focus has to do with community involvement, not only in the Meadville community's involvement with youth football, but also spreading that around the Moscow community and to outlying areas in Russia, spreading sport and giving the youth of both of Moscow and over here in the United States another option. That's to play football, another sport to play for Moscow, Russia. We know their involvement with the hockey and the gymnastics and American football. If that can spread in Russia as well, that can only benefit the youth of that particular country. And back home, locally, it's nice to see the Meadville community supporting the Little Gritters, a program that can always use any support the community can lend.
Well, 5:41 to play in this football game. It's a 22-0 Moscow lead. And Meadville's looking at fourth down, and they'll be punting the football away. What a great educational trip for the youth from Moscow, but also even for the youth from Meadville, Pennsylvania, who get to share culture with the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th graders from Moscow during this week. And then as you look ahead to the summer of 1997, when they have the opportunity then to go to Moscow. Fourth down. And it looks like the Meadville offensive line moved prematurely, and they may have to do this all over again.
And again, that goes beyond the football field. Those kids will remember their experience in Moscow, and the Russian youth will experience their times in Meadville years from now. And that's what's really important, not just the football end of things, but also learning about a different culture, different communities, and learning how another country operates on a national holiday. Moscow has the opportunity, some representatives from Moscow has the opportunity to see how a national holiday is celebrated in America. And that's a rare, unique opportunity. Again, sort of a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. I hope next year's 1997 comes around so that Meadville can experience some of the things that go on in Moscow and in the outlying areas of Russia.
Fourth down, Meadville will punt it all over again. As they're getting set. 5:41 on our clock. At least I think they're going to punt. Maybe they'll go for it here. On 4th down and 20. Tackle moved prematurely again. You know, as he came into the booth this afternoon, Jack, Zane Nazikov, who I've known for a lot of years, is doing the announcing here today. And I used to think that Zane had a difficult name to pronounce until I looked at this roster sheet from the 5th and 6th graders from Moscow, Russia. I realized that he had an easy name to pronounce, but he told me he hasn't been basically in the broadcast booth since like 1983-85. I shouldn't say broadcast booth. He used to be the announcer at Meadville Field for a number of years.
Public address announcer?
Yeah. And he says he was a little nervous coming in, especially with all these games. But I told him it took me 15 years, and I finally get to get him the same broadcast booth as Zane. I'm excited.
Well, this whole day has been exciting. Again, July 4th, this particular July 4th, 1996 will be a special one in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and one that will be remembered for a long time. And again, the ultimate goal, you'd like to think that 15, 20 years down the road, perhaps one of the participants in this particular game, either on the Meadville side or perhaps on the Moscow side, will eventually participate in American football at the collegiate or even professional level.
Moscow will now take over the football, Jack. 1st and 10 at the Meadville 44-yard line, and head coach Craig Gump out talking to the officials on exactly why that happened. He walked off the football field. Craig came up to me before the game and said, "Are you ready for an interview with me now?" I said, "Well, we'll keep it in the back of our minds in case we need a fill." 1st down and 10, and taking the sweep is Roma Demchenko, the quarterback. And the quarterback keeper, he goes around the left end for an 11-yard gain and a 1st down.
Demchenko again showing off his athletic ability. It's a beautiful bootleg. I'm not sure whether it was designed or not, but he took it around end like it was designed and easily picked up the 1st down.
These are all Riddell helmets that they're using in the football game.
Licensed by the National Football League.
Had a chance to talk to the distributor, Riddell, up here on Tuesday morning, mentioning the fact that Riddell went to college at Bethany College, and they have a real nice helmet display down there at Bethany College with all the NFL teams that Riddell provides, which, as Jack mentioned, is the official helmet. 1st down and 10, 32-yard line for Moscow. Moscow cheerleaders. Demchenko, the quarterback, goes with a reverse play to Mihail Zemskov, who takes it left end. He's at the 15, 10, and he'll be into the end zone because it's at the 10-yard line, but a clipping penalty against Moscow will bring the touchdown back. That's another thing we heard coming out of the scrimmage, Jack, is that they were doing a lot of blocking from behind. It's just they're not fundamentally sound yet on their blocking skills, and there's a clipping penalty that will nullify a Moscow touchdown.
And again, that just comes with experience, learning the fundamentals of the American game. This is new to the Russians. Of course, last year when they first received the equipment in late June, they have been practicing for a full year, but still, as Ray mentioned earlier, when you haven't grown up with the game like the Americans have, and you don't understand the penalties and that sort of thing, it makes it a little bit more difficult, and that's why the NFL Films involvement and hopefully the spread of American football will pervade in Russia.
Demchenko back to throw the football. He shows us a good, nice leaping catch here on the near side at the 27-yard line by Pasha Demchenko for a gain for the Moscow team. The quarterback, Demchenko, is a Demchenko. And they hook up for about a 6-yard gain. Good play on both sides. The quarterback maneuvering out of pressure and a nice leaping catch there by Demchenko.
Demchenko has plenty of height at the quarterback position. He looks like he's ready to go right now.
Yeah, I think I'll take it. 2:35 to play this game, 22-0. Moscow with the lead. Ray Horner and Jack Michaels providing the coverage for you. Back to pass is Demchenko. He's looking deep. Now he backpedals, and now he's going to heave it into the end zone. And it's blocked by Moscow in the end zone. It'll be 4th down, but that young man, Jack, just hurled that ball 30 yards for a 5th and 6th grader, and he put it on the money.
Eugene Mustavoy dropped it in the end zone. Meadville had the coverage, but Mustavoy squirmed free at the last instant before seeing the ball bounce off his hands. Great throw by Demchenko, who had all the time in the world provided by the offensive line.
3rd down and about 5 yards to go. And Demchenko turns and gives it to his tailback, who was blistered in the backfield by Matt Stansfield, defensive tackle for Meadville.
And I believe Stansfield might be shaken up.
No, he's okay. It's another Meadville player that is down, but Stansfield with a good hit. And Matt was a young man that interviewed me a couple of weeks ago for a school project, and he came up to me, and he's very much looking forward to making the trip to Moscow next year. Matt Stansfield on that hit there. 4th down, and there is a injured Meadville player with 1:40 to play in this football game. You know, thinking about no lights at Robertson Field, and they want to get this second game in, they probably should think about moving that clock along a little bit.
That's true, and certainly shortening the time between games. And I'm sure you'll see the organizers of the event do that. There is a player shaken up right now. We've been talking about the benefits to Russian football over in Moscow with the NFL's and Ken O'Keefe's efforts. But what about the Meadville football program? If I'm a 3rd and 4th grader, I want to get involved with football at the little bit of level and maybe have the opportunity to go to Moscow or meet players from Moscow. It's, I think, a big boost for the Meadville football program, and that carries all the way up to the varsity level. If you get players involved, maybe they choose football over hockey or another sport. So I think it's a big boost for the Meadville Bulldog football program as a whole to get kids involved, and certainly 3rd and 4th graders must be looking at it as a viable option.
Big run through the middle, Jack, by Arsen Baniloff, as he takes it into the end zone for a touchdown, and a big play through the middle for Moscow. And it's a touchdown for Moscow, and they increased their lead to 28-0 with 1:23 to play in the game.
And again, right up the middle, Ray. All 3 of their touchdown runs have come straight up the middle. They've also had a punt return for a touchdown. The first 3 scores by number 23, Eugene Cheekoff, and that time the score recorded.
So they will now go for the 2-point conversion. In the backfield is Pasha Demchenko, along with Banilov.
And a timeout taken by Meadville.
1:23 to play. I see the Russian and the United States cheerleaders are ready to do a cheer in unison here down below us.
This should be interesting.
There they go. The young Russian girl's a little lost. They're trying to copy the Meadville cheerleaders. 120.
They're doing a fairly good job of doing this.
Here we go, and Demchenko, the quarterback, drops the football, a 2-point conversion. So Meadville will be returning the kick. 1:18 to play in game 1 of the Friendship Bowl. And Meadville on the short end, 28-0.
Second game to follow will be the 7th and 8th graders from Meadville, taking on a team from Russia at that level. Children's League of American Football, who I understand, Pasha Kane,
Yes.
the 6'2", 265-pound center from Moscow. He should be an interesting element in the second football game.
He was quite impressive the other night.
Pasha Kane, who of course was featured this week in a newspaper article regarding his stay with an American family. And it should be noted that a lot of the Moscow players are staying with Meadville families throughout this community, getting a chance to share the culture.
Yeah, I guess they're sharing, they're staying with families of the players that are playing in the football games. So once again, you go back to the educational process of the 5th and 6th grader or the 7th and 8th grader from Meadville that is having sharing a week of culture with a young individual from Moscow, Russia.
And the young individual from Moscow, Russia gets an idea of what daily life in America is all about.
We're getting ready for the kick with 1:18 to play.
The 5 o'clock Sega game, the ignoring the parents when they're calling in for dinner, squeezing in another game of Nintendo perhaps.
You did that the other night. You disregarded the salmon call.
Yes, I did disregard the salmon call, much to my parents' chagrin.
You volunteered for the Smith dog instead.
Well, a nice option.
Yes. Line drive kick. Catton, I should say, the returner for Meadville, picks it up and is tackled at the 36-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for Meadville, with just 1:08 to play. Meadville's best offensive play was a run up the middle by Jason Barrickman that ended the third quarter play. Other than that, the Moscow defense has been tough.
Not only big, but quick. And a natural instinct to move to the football. Gang tackling, we've seen from Moscow Russia on that particular punt return. 3 players snowed the ball carrier under. And another timeout taken by Meadville with 47 seconds to go in Friendship Bowl 1.
28-0 is our score in favor of Moscow. Now Meadville will get another player onto the field. Kenny Chess will come in at a wingback spot. Split backs behind the quarterback. Still a lot of people in attendance. Probably more coming in for game 2 as well. Meadville goes up the middle for about a yard. Probably only have one more play, Jack, and this game 1 of the Friendship will be over with. But just a terrific day, and it's not over yet, of course, but basically our day is done, and I'm very gracious to be involved in the whole day itself, as I'm sure you are. But the Friendship Bowl has gone on. As a matter of fact, I talked to Ken O'Keefe when I got here this afternoon about 2:30. He said, any hang-ups during the day, any problems? I said, no, everything has gone like clockwork. And I have to say the game has been just that as well.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, Ken O'Keefe could not have expected any better results than he gets today. Perfect afternoon, perfect day for football, beautiful evening in Meadville tonight, 70 degrees, a lazy red sky. And Moscow will win the 5th and 6th grade game by a count of 28.
Yes, so Moscow takes the 5th and 6th grade game. All the people in attendance clapping, and a number of them standing and thanking the players for putting on the entertainment this afternoon. And I must say, what a job well done by the coaches, officials, and everyone involved in the whole game. Don't forget, the second game will be coming up shortly for the folks that are in Meadville, Pennsylvania, or watching or listening. Time to get up there and watch game 2, and I think you'll find it very interesting as the 7th and 8th graders can play. So it's a learning experience. Take advantage of it if you can, because this isn't going to happen every year, every 6 months. They're going to have a medal award here at midfield, but 28-0 is the final, Jack.
And now the teams will shake hands in the traditional post-game ceremony you might see in the National Hockey League. And this is another gesture of sportsmanship as the teams will line up and shake hands and put to an end an exciting day for us, Ray, and it's just continuing up here at Robertson Field. Of course, game 2 will follow between the 7th and 8th graders from Meadville and Moscow. Wicked Licks, Crawford County's own rock band will play.
Is it true you're jumping on the guitar?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be on the guitar.
Okay.
And maybe some singing,
Okay.
if they let me. And then, of course, the nice fireworks display immediately following Wicked Lick. So the evening just beginning for Arkansas Field.
Okay, for Jack Michaels, I'm Ray Horner, for WMGW and Armstrong Cable Services, thank you for watching and listening to this afternoon's Friendship Bowl. It was exciting, 28-0. The Little Gritters from Moscow, the CLAF, defeat the Meadville Little Gritters. This has been a WMGW Sports presentation.